Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. I'd love to have you join me every Monday and every Friday. Friday is curly hair content, Monday is miscellaneous life content, and today's life events are, actually I think this is going to be over several days. We are going to finish up the bean harvest I think on this video. So if you don't know, I come from a family that is a small Midwest farming family. And it has been in the family for, I want to say, my great-grandpa, and then my grandpa, my dad, and now my dad farms with my uncles. All that to say, we are going to be doing more soybean harvest, and we'll wrap that up in this vlog. So we are starting now. We've already done some soybean harvest. I did my first harvest of the soybeans on, it was the previous video, or one of the previous videos. I'll leave that linked up in the card. But anyways, we are going to be doing more of that. We're going to wrap this up. Currently today, it is September 27th. We've had some rain, so we had to put a pause on the soybeans. My family harvested some while I was at another job. And so this is, I don't know how much we'll get done today. We won't finish it up today. But like I said, this video is going to go over several days. So stick around, join me, and I hope you enjoy this. I'll try to explain some things as we go. My dad is heading across the field now. I know there's still beans in this field currently, but this field attaches to another field that is actually, this one here that I'm standing in is my uncle's field. He farms for my grandparents, or my grandma now. And then across where my dad is heading with the combine is to the back end of our field. So dad's heading there to our field to test it, to see. He did one of the scientific farmer tests where you chew a piece of the bean and just kind of see. He was guessing 14.3. I mean, he could very easily be off, but he said it's got to be at least 14 before he wants to really combine. So I'm going to give this a little test myself. I haven't done this in years, to be truthfully honest. By the way, I did put a satin bonnet on just to try to kind of keep my hair a little bit cleaner. It is wash day today, so whatever time we get done tonight, when I get home, when I shower, I will be washing my hair. Just open up the soybean here and put it in. There's still a little bit of chew to it. Still a little bit of chew. I don't know. The other field could be a little bit different as far as how dry it is, but I don't think that one's ready there. It's 1 o'clock, by the way, so we may start later today. We'll see. Sorry, we're going to be jostling around a little bit. I'm driving across the field to get Dad because indeed it was too wet. I don't know quite what it tested the moisture, but we're going to pick him up and wait an hour maybe, actually. It kind of depends on what it tested, but my guess is Dad will try it again in an hour to see if it's dried out and go from there. It's a waiting game. So I am given a new task today. I am going to be in charge of the auger system, which is right over here. Can you? There. And I will be making sure, my uncle is going to be dumping it into the semi for a while. He has to go away a little bit later, but he's going to be dumping into the semi, and from the semi we're taking it up the auger into the bins. So that is what's going on. So like I said, this is a new job for me. I'll just run you through it a little bit while I just take you with me and show you what we're doing here. All right, first we're going to turn the tractor on. There's a little key over here, and then we're going to turn the power takeoff on. Turn it on slowly to this point. Once it kicks in, slowly bring her all the way up. Then we will turn the throttle on. I don't know how well you guys can see this with the sun. Let me get in here. We will turn up the throttle to about 20. The power takeoff works this mechanism in here that spins and sucks the beans up through the auger system and eventually takes it up to the grain bin. Then we have this, which we open one way to open this up. You don't want to have it open too much because the beans will spill out. It'll be too much for the auger to be able to take up. It seems like a pretty simple job, but it is pretty dusty. So my mom had an extra mask, which I'm appreciative of, and that's what I'm going to be doing. My mom and my uncle are going to be going. They have a little something going on later this evening. So it'll just be Dad and I. I don't know. I may be running that tractor as well with the cart on it and bringing it up here to the semi and dumping as well. I don't think I'll be doing both. I don't know that I would know how to do both at the same time, because someone has to be down in this spot checking on the beans, dumping in, while somebody also has to be working the auger system in the tractor. So yeah, I don't think I can do both. We'll figure out how that's going to work out though. I'll keep you posted. We hopped around to several different fields, and I was running the grain cart some and the dumping into the auger. Now we're going back over to my grandma's, and we're just going to fill up the trucks. So I think we're just doing my uncle's field over there. I think Dad wasn't super clear on that, but that's what I think is going on. Working into the sunset. Sometimes a farmer's got to do what a farmer's got to do. Good morning. It's Monday, September 29th. It's about 10 a.m. and I just got to my parents' place. My dad and my uncle actually they left the house around 5:30 in the morning, and they took the grain truck and the semi to the elevator. The elevator doesn't open till 7 a.m., but there's usually a lineup, so it depends on how many trucks are ahead of them, how long they'll have to wait, what time they would get back. I had a client that I had to go to earlier this morning, so I'm just getting here. By the way, if you see this kind of ridiculous head wrap, I do feel a little self-conscious in it, but this is what I had to do to keep my hair protected. So I'm going to try to keep it wrapped. Sometimes I used to try this as sleep protection for my curly hair at night, and I found that it didn't stay on the greatest for me in the nighttime. Maybe I'm an active sleeper, rolling around and stuff like that. I'm not really sure. But anyways, like I said, it's about 10 a.m. I don't know that we'll get started till about 11, but let's get inside, find out what the game plan is. I guess we're moving on down the field. I'm going to try to do a dump on the go when he gets to the other end and turns around. Alright, we finished this field, the back end of Grandma's property, and now there's a little waterway, and my uncle is now over on the other side of the waterway. There's about 45 acres approximately over on that side. Later on in the afternoon, I rode with my uncle in the semi to get our soybeans to the processing place. Here, the first part, they take this probe and it tests 3 different areas in the semi just to see what your soybeans are testing, and you get that results at the end as you're leaving the elevator. But the semi that we are driving, which this one isn't the one in particular, this is somebody else's, is actually an automatic. So while it is large and in charge, hard to turn in certain areas, tight areas, it is nice that it is automatic. Then we are just dumping the soybeans here out of the opening up the hopper. I will have a shorts video on this whole process so that you guys can, it gives a little bit more detail, I guess. I explain a little bit more as we go. But really this hopper empties out pretty fast. There are 2 on the semi, but it's a pretty fast, although dusty process. It's a little after 6 in the evening and we switched fields again. Once again, we're at the fields by my parents' place, just trying to finish this up. We're not going to get all of this done. Let me zoom back out. Yeah, we're not going to get all of this done before, you know, we fill up. All right, I had to let the semi go through, but I was just saying we don't have much room in the bin anymore. We might dump a little bit more in, but then we fill up the trucks, get the cart and the combine filled, and that's when we'll have to call it a night, unless the bean stalks start to get too tough to combine up. All right, it's September 30th. I can't believe it, last day of September. My family is actually already out in the field. It's a little afternoon. I was late. I got tied up with doing some editing work and everything. So I'm walking across the road now, going to get started. And yeah, they're finishing off the field across the road with the soybeans. So let's go over there. My dad is probably in the combine, clear out there. And usually somebody's riding along in the combine and the tractor at this point, because those are the air-conditioned ones. I don't know if you guys didn't know this, but our truck and our semi are not air-conditioned. It's very hot. When I rode in the semi the other day, we rode with the windows down because it's just, you don't want the windows up. It's just too warm, especially with the weather that we're having right now in the 80s. And it was actually in the upper 80s yesterday for a while. So, all right, let's see what we can get up to today. I've got a bit of a break today since we have one of my other uncles here. He was here yesterday as well, and so it just frees up an extra person. And so I'm going to ride with my uncle in the truck here pretty soon. I'll see what footage I can catch of that. It's kind of a little difficult sometimes to get the full scope of things, I feel like, at least for me, as I'm still kind of learning filming this kind of stuff, this kind of content. But yeah, I'm excited. So my mom's running the cart right now, and one uncle took the semi, the other is going to be taking the red truck here in a little bit. It still needs at least one more dump into it. But right now I just have a little bit of free time. So I'm sitting here with the green bin behind me. Definitely sitting in the shade today too, because it's still another hot one. It's going to be in the lower 80s, but still plenty warm. You can see we keep it neat and tidy.
Moving on the road because there's a lot of crap out there.
Mm-hmm. Alright, we have switched places. Now we are at my uncle's place. I'm trying to get away from the wind here, but I think it's just going to be windy. They have about 75 acres here. We won't finish this up today. And then we have a small portion up in one of the first fields that we had started in, not like the first field, but it was in my first day of harvesting. It's the field that we stopped at up there. So that's kind of separate from the rest of this home farm area, I want to say. But like I said, we have about 75 acres here at my uncle's place. We won't finish this up today, but by tomorrow, I would think that we could finish the rest of the beans up being here at my uncle's and the other field up there. This screen here just tells you some information about the soybeans, like the moisture and the bushels per acre. Well guys, it looks like I'm going to be wrapping up my workday here in the fields with my usual home spot, my home turf here with this tractor with the cart, which I don't mind. I'm comfortable here, pretty comfortable here. And I have a magazine this time. Mom left her Better Homes and Gardens in here for me, so that'll keep me occupied because although I enjoy this tractor, I'm familiar with it, I'm comfortable with it, it can get a little boring sometimes. But that's kind of the name of the game sometimes. You know, you're really busy at times and then you're waiting around quite a bit. So, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome to October 1st, and I think this is going to be our final day of doing beans. So my parents and my uncle are already with the combine and the tractor with the cart. I'm just an extra hand right now, but we are finishing up at my uncle's place. We probably have about 35 acres to do, and then we will go up to the field up north, one of the ones that we originally started in the first day of harvesting, and finish that up. That's about another 20 acres up there. So I'm excited to be getting this done. There's still plenty more to do. Sorry, I'm a little froggy. We have corn definitely to do. We have more fertilizer probably to put on. I think my dad did do a little bit of that earlier this morning, I believe. My uncle kind of cleaned up the combine some. It's only going to get dirty again, but you have to do that to keep it running well. So that's kind of a little bit of what has happened earlier this morning. I wasn't out at the farm at all at that time. I was doing some work at home, but now we're here at the farm, so let's get going with the day. Alright, it's about 2:40 in the afternoon, and I'm doing the same thing that I've done for the last several days for the most part. Once again, I'm running the tractor with the cart behind me and going from the combine's dumping into my cart, and I'm filling it into the truck or the semi that's here. Right now, both the truck and the semi are out, so I already have 2 loads from the combine, 2 dumps from the combine in my cart. It can hold probably about another half of a dump. So we'll just fill up as much as we can. I hope this isn't getting boring for you guys. I do feel like it's pretty repetitive. I'm going to wrap up this video at the end of the day because we should be finished with the soybeans. But otherwise, I'm just going to keep at this today. Let me know how you guys have liked this, and I will check back in again, obviously, before I end the video, and just to fill you in if there's anything interesting that's happening or anything like that. But otherwise, like I said, you guys have seen all the steps, all the usual things that we do. So I'll catch you in a little bit then, I guess. know, one thing I realized is I never showed you guys the inside or kind of the mechanics, the things that I operate of this tractor. So let me just do that here real quick. Let's start out at the bottom. This one is the clutch. This is the brake. This little middle pedal here just adjusts the steering wheel. So we come back up to top. I have it in park right now. If I were to go to change it, I would press the clutch and I would lift this lever up here and move the stick over. So I have it in park. There's forward, neutral, and reverse. Now over here to my right, I have very minimal things. Here is what I do. This is generally what well, this is the speed. So if I want to change the gear up higher, you hit the bunny rabbit there, lower for the turtle. And up here tells you how fast you are going. You'll have your miles per hour, the gear that you're in. But back to this control area, when I'm getting ready to auger the beans out, I will make sure, one, that my spout is out. Most of the time when we're in the fields, most of the time we leave the spout locked out, which is this position here. If I need to put it back, I can always adjust it with this, or if I need to bring it back out. Then, once I make sure my spout is in position, I turn on the power takeoff, the auger, turn that on, you lift it up and turn it on, and then this controls, I'm not sure if it's called the chute or whatever, but it allows the beans to actually come out of the auger. So it feels backwards to me. If you pull it backwards, that brings the chute out. I'm going to call it the chute. I'm really not sure if that's what it's called, but for the sake of this video, we're calling it the chute. So if you want the beans to come out, you pull it backwards. If you want to slow down the full flow of the beans, you put it forward. And if you put it all the way forward though, that goes and float and your auger doesn't move, like the spout doesn't move. And I accidentally overflowed some beans yesterday. So I don't think I told you about that. Yeah, I overflowed some beans. It wasn't good. All right, so we did get this field done. Now I'm just walking across the road. Gotta take the cart there. I gotta drive that up north to the field up north. Never quite made this truck with a cart, but I'm pretty confident I can do it. So at least that's what I told my uncle. So here we go. I won't be showing you, but I'm sure we'll make it. All right, that is a wrap on the soybean harvest. We got everything off, everything's in the truck or semi, and so that it feels good. It feels good to have that done. It's a big load off the plate, whatever you want to call it. I think you know what I'm trying to say. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.